Hey guys, welcome back to another video of Two A's and One C. Last week we discussed about friendship, how our friendship has progressed along the years, and how it has evolved. What we look into when we make new friends and stuff like that. So thank you so much for watching the video last week. In this week, I wanted to talk about something a little bit different. So I came across this article. All right. And this article is from Asia One, but you could find this article also at Harian Metro. So it says more than 57,000 Malaysians gave up citizenship for Singapore over the last 5 years. So in this article, you would see that these as um, these are some of the I would say the Malaysians locals here that have moved to Singapore, and there's about 93.78% that actually moves to Singapore, and the rest of them moves to places like Australia and also Brunei, and there's an average of about 10,000 Malaysians per year giving up on their citizenship. All right. So this is a data that has been taken from the year 2020 all the way to 2025. All right. And maybe we want to just kickstart by talking a little bit on this. So,
Right.
yep, Kaz, what do you think about this whole article?
Mm, I think before I give my opinion on this, maybe
Yep,
let me just start with the questions, right?
yep,
Um, since you're working in Singapore as a Malaysian citizen, right?
yep.
I'm not sure. What's your future plan? Maybe down the road 10 years.
Mhm.
Have the thought of actually, convert into a Singaporean? Means giving up your Malaysian citizenship, right? So the question is converting into a Singaporean actually a betrayal to Malaysia? This is a
Wow.
very interesting question, right?
It's a very heavy question if you ask me. So
Hmm.
there are some differences, when it comes to lifestyle, between Malaysia and Singapore, flexibility and independence in a way, both for single individuals or families, and I think there is no right answer to this, right? Some could see it as a betrayal. Some would just think that there is an opportunity that I see and I'm just going for it. For me personally, I think it's an opportunity that I'm exploring, right? I don't see this as a betrayal because a lot of values that I carry with me in Singapore are rooted from Malaysia or Malaysian culture. So that's my thoughts. What do you think? You know, this is.
Maybe we go to Ryan first,
Yep, sure.
because actually I try not to side it on the Malaysian side. Maybe I try to um, try to give my opinions.
Right.
Not to say against it, but maybe
Mhm.
I try to hear from Ryan first, and then I will depends on Ryan's opinion. Then I will try to see which side I want to side.
It's a debate now
Okay.
lah.
All right.
So
Let's try to have this
okay, so
debate then.
betrayal is a strong word. Um,
Okay.
but okay, so I think the issue of brain drain is real. You know,
Mm.
I think based on this article that
Mm,
a lot of Malaysian is actually converting, and
mm,
uh, in a way, it might be seen as betrayal because you you are a human resource. You are contributing to Singapore. You're
Yes.
contributing to the economy, you're contributing to the prosperity of that country and not
Correct.
your own home country.
Yep.
Um,
So I think. Oh yeah. Sorry. You're
mm,
saying.
yeah. So in your case, you're still PR in Singapore,
Yep.
and I think you mentioned that you are still contemplating whether to,
To convert. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. But I'm
So,
still on the fence.
mhm.
Yep.
So, but if you think about it, if let's say you put yourself in Vince's shoe, you will see that Singapore is giving you a better opportunity, in terms of your career,
Mm,
maybe
mm,
Mm,
maybe in terms of your maybe your life and better quality of life. So it's
mm,
something that
mm,
Malaysia is not able to provide. So
mm. So,
yeah, yeah, that's my opinion.
like, when I think about it, right? Because I mean, this whole journey that I started on, was because of was all for the purpose of providing for the family, right? So during that time when I was thinking, okay, we had this practice, actually all of us in this group here have this practice of actually giving parents allowance, and I wasn't really happy with the amount that I was giving back to my family, and I thought to myself, like, how can I maximize that? And instead of
mm,
delving into a part-time job and stuff like that, I was thinking, can I still use my 9 to 5 again, and still provide
mm,
more? And that's where, like,
mm,
Singapore came up, and I thought, okay, yeah, let's just explore. And it was supposed to be a short-term thing. It was supposed to be like a 3 years thing, and then after 3 years or 4 years, and then come back and then carry on. But
mm,
opportunity just kept coming, just kept rolling, and I guess just jumping on those opportunities to keep learning and keep growing and stuff like that. It has now become a thing where I've been here for quite a while, and considering to go back would require me to restart again. Not my career,
mm,
but more importantly, my whole lifestyle. Like getting familiar with the place where I want to do my groceries, or maybe my own community, like friends. Uh, Mostly I would say friends. Like meeting new people. Getting more out of like life, and that would be a little bit of a struggle. And I guess the comfort zone would be just to stay on. So
mm.
that
I
has been a
see.
thing, yeah, for me. Yeah, has been a
Mm.
major.
Thanks for both of you sharing, Vin and also Ryan. Yeah. I do agree that maybe there's a wrong choice of word, because I think both of you also think that the word betray maybe is have a very very strong meaning, right?
Yep, yep,
I think let me just take a step back, and maybe let me just um try to explain, right, where am I coming from.
yep, yep.
So I think the reason why I use the word betray, right, it's definitely have a negative meaning, right?
Yep.
This is because we Malaysian, we born, we use the resources, for example, the education, or maybe medical benefit, right, in our
Mhm.
own home country. But
Yep.
after that, you get a maybe a better opportunity in Singapore, and then you left Malaysia, you migrate there, and then you become a PR and you work there. It's like Ryan has mentioned, brain drain is definitely something that is undeniable, right? We cannot
Yep.
deny that. This is because um, in terms of career, we contribute to Singapore. I mean, in a sense that if you work in Singapore, of course you are serving Singapore.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
mean, my income tax I'm
imagine,
paying to Singapore as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
So
not just that, right? Your skill set, or
yeah, yeah, definitely.
or yeah, um, we are. I mean, we were using Malaysian education resource, but yet you are using that, build out your skill, and then you contribute to Singapore, for example. So
Yep.
you can see, right, that the flow of the resource is not
Yep.
really benefiting where we get the resource from. So I mean, for for those who are listening to us in this podcast, if you think that there's a better word to replace the betray, please type in the comment below, right? I think I'm up for a better word, because I do realize that the
Right.
word betray is a bit too strong.
But again, right? For what if I turn around and ask you this, right? For all
Mm,
those hardcore like I want to use word supporter or fans of Malaysia, but I would maybe a better word for hardcore supporters, right, would be like Malaysian fanatics. Like
mm,
I'm born and raised in Malaysia. Aku anak Malaysia. Like for all those people that is raised, born, raised, and if I if I die, I'm going to die in Malaysia, kind of thing, right?
Mm,
Um,
mm, mm,
maybe for individuals like that, let's. I mean, I would love to explore that side of conversation, right? Where if it's actually like what we've said initially, right? Uh, Betrayal, right? Is it a real betrayal? Like for those hardcore individuals, they would say like, yeah, it is a betrayal because like you've said, right? Like uses resources from Malaysia, train you up, raised you up to be a better version of yourself, and then you're now contributing elsewhere. Like, is
mm,
it a betrayal? So for me, I feel like betrayal. Yes, if you don't contribute back to Malaysia, it may seem like a betrayal. But what if I've contributed back in different ways? Would
mm,
that still be considered? Like, for example, right? Despite me moving away, like I still contribute to my EPF, my voluntary EPF. Now, would you consider
mm,
me like, for example, the community? So there are some small NGOs, all right, that is in Malaysia, and I support, like, on a yearly basis, on an annual membership or annual donation. Would you then still consider me a betrayer? Like, to what extent would you consider me a betrayer? Just because I'm not physically in Malaysia, or is it like just purely like, oh, I'm not supported in the development of Malaysia, right?
mm.
So yeah, I mean, I'm open to be challenged on this, but would love to hear your thoughts on this as well, Ryan, Cass.
Contribution back to Malaysia. Okay, so
Hmm.
what you can do, I think, maybe promote Malaysian tourism,
Mm-hmm.
and you earn Singapore dollars, but you
Mm-hmm.
come back as a tourist, you spend here.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that indirectly or directly, contributes back to the
Yep.
economy as well.
Yep.
So I think that is one way, and it's not a rare thing, for Singaporeans to come over to Malaysia and spend on that spend
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
food,
So that is
yeah,
one
nice,
way,
surprisingly,
I
right?
poor, yeah.
guess.
Even Singaporeans has actually supported in the development of Malaysia. Maybe not on a daily basis, but like you said, as a tourist, like you come back and then you spend on the local food, the local culture, activities and stuff like that. So in a way, they are supporting the tourism sector. So yep,
Mm,
you're right. Where because I've got the benefit of being a Malaysian, my EPF support and my community volunteering and also contribution donations and stuff like that. Those are the two other things that I could think of, you know in this regard.
so I think I got what your point is, Win. I think
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to mention that you know, being a Singaporean, you can actually uh generate economic contributions back to Malaysia, right?
Yep.
In a certain way, lah, right? I think from what I can hear, like
Mm-hmm.
from both of you, I think the flow now is try to justify being
Mm.
a Singaporean. You can contribute.
Mm.
That's
Exactly.
the flow I try to I'm able to sense now. I think let me top up on that, right? So I think
Mm-hmm.
let's say going back to Vin's example, like um contribute to your parents the allowance, for example, monthly allowance, right? I think
Yep.
that is one of the motivation why you first consider Singapore, right, is because you want to maybe contribute more, right? Or
Yes.
maybe
Correct.
a good amount of family allowance, right, back
Correct.
to your parents. So I think that is one of the point as well in terms of economic contribution, right? Like
Yep.
because now that you earn Singaporean dollar and obviously if it convert back to ringgit, it will be almost three times, right?
Mm.
So obviously some people can even like buy a property, maybe let's say
Yep.
in JB, which is relatively cheaper compared if you buy a HDB in Singapore, right?
Yep.
And then I think you can constantly send back, money allowance to your parents lah, without much, worry or without much stress, right? Compared if you were to work here. So I think
Correct.
in that sense, this is, um, this is saying that the money actually is flowing back to Malaysia. Now,
Yep.
compare, let's say, if you were to work here, um, yeah, you maybe contribute a bit in terms of your skill set or whatnot, but I don't think you are able to lead that kind of life, right? Like
Yes.
supporting your parents and maybe um lead a more luxurious life. I think you probably it's a bit more difficult to achieve that you were to stay in Malaysia, right?
Mm.
Mm,
Mm. Besides that, as well, I'm also thinking like even when we did mention about a monthly allowance to parents and stuff like that, right? Like
mm,
then parents would have or the family would have a better spending power.
mm,
So like take for example, if your monthly allowance for to your family is about 500 ringgit when I was working in Malaysia, and then now it's actually
mm,
$500, which
mm.
roughly equates to about 1,500 ringgit, and they're able
Yep.
to spend that 1,500 ringgit. So that's like 1,000 extra. So just doing the math, right?
Mm,
Like assuming that
Yep.
this new group of individuals that has moved that has revoked their citizenship, Malaysian citizenship, that's like
Mm,
57 just now, right? So
mm,
times let's say 1,000 ringgit extra, right? So
mm,
that's equating to about 57,000, sorry, 57 million.
mm.
And this is per month, right?
Yep.
So per month,
Yep.
if they are contributing the same dollar to dollar, right, of 500,
Mm,
it's additional 1,000 ringgit, and that additional 1,000 ringgit is equivalent to 57 million back to the economy,
mm.
back to the
Yep.
the local vendors, your grocery, your repairman, maintenance man. Wow, that's a lot of money. Yeah.
Mm.
And if we talk about what, next 5 years, sorry,
Yeah, I
that's
think
5 months.
for the current years, I think it's relevant, right?
Mhm.
It's whatever we mentioned here, talk about here is justifiable because I think the norm here is that, normally the young adults, move to Singapore for better, maybe their career opportunity or career advancement.
Mhm.
While their parents generally don't really move along with them, right? They would still
No.
remain in Malaysia, still reside in their home countries. It is a bit rare, right? I mean, the whole family was brought to Singapore, right? That's a bit rare to see. So that's why I think whatever we have mentioned just now,
Mhm.
giving back to the parents, indirectly we are contributing, back to Malaysia economically, right? I think that part is still relevant.
Yep.
Um, well, we don't know down the road for the next, for the next 50 years, maybe things has changed. But at least for now, I think, the point that we have thrown up in the discussion, right, I think still relevant.
So I
And
have
I
a
think,
question.
oh,
So
go ahead.
just
Sorry.
now we were talking about contributing economically back to
Mm,
Malaysia.
mm,
So okay, so then can you enlighten me, like what's the difference? Like some Malaysians who remain PR in Singapore,
Mhm.
they work
Yep.
in Singapore,
mm,
maybe they stay in JB,
All right.
mm,
and compared to what's the difference compared to someone who fully converts to a Singaporean? So what are the benefits that they get from being a Singaporean rather than remaining as a PR, staying in Malaysia? This, if you're staying in Malaysia, of course
Mm,
you're contributing back economically as well,
yep.
but you're earning Singapore dollars in Singapore. So what are the benefits that they are getting as a Singaporean that push them to convert rather than remain as PR? Because to me,
Mhm.
both ways you can still contribute economically back to Malaysia.
Got it. Um, so there are different parts to this question, right? And I guess something that me and my wife has always discussed about is that if in case one of us were to convert to Singapore citizen, like who should it be? And I've always shared that I think she should convert to a citizen if there was ever given an opportunity, because I mean from our standpoint, we are looking at it more as a benefit for her, being a mom in the future, and then having maternity leaves and stuff like that. So that was the primary reason. But there are other benefits that you see on a year basis, like They've got housing allowance sometimes. They've got a GST waiver. They've got other vouchers. Like we've called this thing called CDC vouchers that basically supports the local hawker store. So they give out these vouchers, and you use these vouchers to support the local hawker shops and stuff. So in that sense, I think I would say very similar initiatives that Malaysian government has for the Malaysian people, all right, but in very different approaches. So obviously you would have your income tax being slightly lower. This I'll have to fact check, but that's what I think. So it's when families makes decision, it's more of a personal decision. It's not really for the benefit that the country is giving, because the biggest benefit that the country is giving would be to give you a job, basically. I mean, that's a huge thing. And moving to a different country and getting a job and living there is not for everyone. So that's a huge thing. But all this comes as like, I would say, like add-ons to your life here in Singapore. Does that answer your question?
Kinda.
Mm. Like in which aspect were you expecting, like, coverage on? Like, were there any specific uh, notes that you expected me to say or share?
Mm. So I was thinking that because you can
Mhm.
still remain as a PR, you
Yep.
can still get a job in Singapore.
Yep.
And if you mention that it's not because of the government benefits that Singapore
Mm.
provides that incentivize people to convert over, then what is the, or maybe is
What
it
is drawing people to
because
convert?
they prefer the stability of the government, Singapore, or they
Mm.
prefer Singapore as a whole, as a country itself?
Mm. So I can't speak for the majority that has actually revoked their citizenship, right? At 57,000, right? But if I was ever given an opportunity to convert, I would convert purely because I have grown accustomed to the lifestyle and the environment here. And like I said, if I had plans to like go back, then I wouldn't accept a citizenship here. But if I don't really have plans to go back, because I'm comfortable here, I'm at the point in life where I don't want to start over from scratch, because it's just too much for the family, or whatever. Then I'm just going to stay here, right? So
So you're
that
saying
that
that
would
maybe
be
you want a stability that when you grow old, for example,
um
when you're
mhm.
old, you might want, it's better to be a Singaporean in Singapore rather than, getting kicked back to Malaysia when you're old. Maybe,
uh,
maybe.
not okay. Maybe no, not really, not really. I think it's more of like I guess, okay, this is not really fair for me to say, right? But I'm not getting any younger anymore. So I don't have young blood anymore to actually go back and start fresh again, and like, the energy to like rebuild my community around me, and then rebuild relationships and stuff like that. Like for example, right? I had my mom come over during the weekend, and I brought her to places that I'm really familiar with, and I've actually kind of built relationship with these hawker vendors and stuff like that, hawker store owners and stuff like that. So going back to Malaysia will require me to then build that relationship again. And I'm not saying that it's difficult to build that relationship, but it's more of like, I've got to rebuild it one after another. Like probably I've got maybe like 5 good relationships with hawker store owners here, and then I've just got to build on that, right? Because it's like a year on year effort kind of thing. So just doing that again in Malaysia would require maybe time and effort, and it will get a little bit exhausting as well. So
Yeah,
that comfort, I love that comfort that I've built here. That's yeah.
yeah. I guess you can say that you have gotten used to being in Singapore, and
Yeah, correct.
when you grow old, you might is.
I
I
wouldn't
think
mind,
yeah,
retiring here, because yeah.
yeah.
So
So if if our listeners, any of the listeners is Malaysian converted to Singapore, maybe you can comment in your reason for converting to Singaporean.
Yeah. Hopefully our viewers has a better reason of converting to Singapore citizenship compared to me having
Because we are waiting for you to list down, as much as incentive you get if you were to convert to become a Singaporean. But what
I
we get
think
is you get used to it.
yeah, exactly. So let me just pull up like benefit of being a Singaporean citizen. All right, let me see what are the top things that AI has generated for me. So I'm using Google AI and I see things like, oh wow, so these are some of the fun facts, right? Like travel and identity, right? So powerful passport, enjoy visa free or visa on arrival access to numerous countries. So okay, well that's interesting. And then buying a property in Singapore, which is your BTO, and
That's
then
what
you
that's what I expecting you to say just now.
oh
Actually,
wow, I think,
yeah, BTO and HDB, right? Yeah.
but how is that different from going back to Malaysia and buying a property there? So, like for example, okay, one fun fact about purchasing a BTO, right, is that you've got to put in like 20% down payment on your BTOs. You don't have that in Malaysia. In Malaysia, probably you'll have your 5% or maybe some developers has a free or a zero down payment. Sorry, free was the
Mm,
wrong word to use, but zero down payment. So in that sense, like,
mm,
is it good though? Like, you should ask yourself and then see whether it kind of matches uh I would say your planning, your lifestyle. The other thing they say is that okay, this is under the healthcare and education, receive greater subsidies for medical bills at public hospitals and polyclinics. Okay, that's good to know. Uh, sounds like I don't know about all this stuff. Anyways, family and career can sponsor direct family members for long-term visas or PR status. Okay, that's good. Not that I need one yet. Civic and security. So participate in national election. Okay, okay. If you want to, fulfilling national service obligations. So I don't know whether this is something that is okay with the Malaysian um, families that are revoking their citizenship, and it offers a higher degree of security and belonging in Singapore. So yeah, this I'm not going to comment much because the country is in fact a smaller area, so there would be a higher possibility to have better or more strong equipped equipments for security and stuff. So yeah,
Let me
so these
add
are some
on
of
a
the
bit.
things.
Just now you mentioned that passport power,
Mhm,
visa free. Did you know that our Malaysian passport is
mhm.
ranked third globally in the 2025?
Oh yes, I do.
Yeah. So actually,
Yeah,
our Malaysians passport, uh, this has improved, and
yeah.
also you
I
mentioned
think previously it
purchasing
was seventh,
power.
right?
Recently, Malaysian, you know, our ringgit has
Yeah,
been quite strong.
stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
mm,
maybe let's change
So,
the question a bit. So
mhm,
now that Malaysia, we're seeing improvement in Malaysia, you know,
mhm,
and let's say the improvements continues maybe for a few years.
mhm.
Would you see that the number of people converting to Singapore will reduce, or would you be tempted to come back to Malaysia if uh,
Okay, I've
yeah.
got a twist on this, right? There would be a possibility actually of Singaporeans trying to convert being a Malaysian citizenship. All
Okay.
right, and why? And this is a legit thought that I have after seeing someone actually. So I think he runs his own business in Malaysia, and he's actually a Singaporean, and he's set up shop here in Malaysia, and he's not only running his own business, but he's also investing in other Malaysian businesses. All right, and he has been I wouldn't say preaching, but more of like encouraging the local talent, to stay on because there's more SMEs that are coming up, and these SMEs are all growing, at full speed. And he's also encouraging Singaporeans to actually, come over to Malaysia and start up businesses here in Malaysia because there's a lot of potential here in Malaysia. So in that sense, I think not only people like reducing, to move to Singapore and becoming Singapore citizens, and also like us PRs that are working here in Singapore, like moving back to Malaysia. I think there would be more Singaporeans that would want to convert to being a Malaysian citizen because the opportunity um, is continuously growing.
Interesting questions, huh?
Yeah. So for me personally, I guess wherever my wife goes, I go. So yeah, but honestly speaking, what would really encourage me to come back again? All right, and I think I will lean on to community again. So with all my travels back to Malaysia, and during those travels, if I'm continuously building a community in Malaysia, and I think you guys are also my closest community, right? Like I mean, it would be an ideal world, right? If you guys can actually move to Singapore and join me there, and then that's it. Life is perfect, right? So that's the only heartache that I have. But apart from that, like if I were to come back and then like if I've got like if I'm building good communities, would love to come back to Malaysia and build my family and integrate my family into the community. Yeah, that's for me.
So
I may not be hitting the viewers' expectation, in terms of why is this guy not talking about the facts here, like why is he talking about an emotional stand like of having a community and being a part of a community, like why? But that is important to me, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, this is not a technical presentation. This is a podcast, right?
Yep, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm trying to avoid the difficult questions, but I guess these are my genuine thoughts on this. Yeah.
So you were saying that it would be great that if both of us, me and Kes, can move over to Singapore, and then we'll be
It'll be a
closer
perfect
and
world.
anything. So what advice would you give to
Mhm.
myself and Kes and maybe our listeners, those who want to maybe start a career in Singapore? Will you just give
All right.
one or two advice that you think that would be good?
Okay. First things first. Viewers, have a check at your eligibility, right? Make sure that the roles that you're applying for, make sure you're eligible for the roles, all right? But most importantly, right, if you have decided this very early on, make that leap of faith, all right? Take that chance and apply. Don't wait for like, okay, 1 year later, I'm going to apply, and 2 years later, and then the 2 years becomes 5 years and stuff, because age does matter, all right? The younger you are, the higher opportunity you have to moving into Singapore, all right? With that being said, that does not mean that if you've got like 5 or 10 years experience, you won't have an opportunity there. You would definitely have an opportunity there, but you've got to always keep a lookout for those roles, because there are going to be some roadblocks along the way. With your potential employer, interviewing you and discussing about your salary package and all that stuff, you're going to have some roadblocks. But the younger you are, the more you're able to compromise in order to get that role, and from there, you build on, right? You use that as a stepping stone, and then you build on and you move on to better career advancement, within the organization, or maybe outside the organization. But just start as early as you can. All right, that's very important. So when I was applying for my job, just a little bit of background. When I was applying for my job, um, I found out that I was competing with individuals applying from Myanmar, from Philippines. So I'm a quantity surveyor by education, and there are, I wouldn't say there are similar bachelor's degree in Myanmar and also Philippines, but there's similar education from Myanmar and Philippines. And when I was applying for jobs like as a quantity surveyor, there were like about 80 to 100 applicants per job opening. All right. So that was really, really challenging. So going through that whole experience and then finally, building on from there was a very rewarding experience as well. But if there was any regret that I had would be to start off as early as after graduation. All right. And if you don't, whenever you have decided to go to Singapore, start applying then. Tidy up your CVs. And start applying then. More than happy. If viewers, if you've got any questions on CVs and stuff like that, maybe we can have another podcast on this. Comment your thoughts on this below. But I believe Kaz and also Ryan will be more than happy to actually run through this together with me as well. So yep, that's my thoughts, Ryan.
Thank you for the advice. So, Cass, any?
Yeah, Kaz has been awfully quiet.
So after the advice from Win, are you planning to apply to Singapore? So do you think it's still a betrayal?
No, I mean, like, I just want to hear from your opinion, right? I mean, I think this combination is good, right? We have, one Malaysian actually is in Malaysia, one Malaysian actually working in Singapore. So I think the opinion can be, from both sides. So that's very interesting. But I think personally, for me is I think we should actually be responsible, right, to our own life, how we want to lead our life. So for me is it's not really a betrayal per se, as long as if you think that you utilize the resource that your home country gave you, if you have a certain way that you can return it back, I think it should not be considered a betrayal. But again, let's see how our audience gonna nominate a better word to rephrase the
Okay.
word betrayal lah. Yeah. So
I
before we end, right, I mean, Vin, just ask you one questions, right? So let's say now you're a young adult in Malaysia, you gonna move to Singapore and work, right? So would you consider that action a migration?
Wow. So migration.
Because technically you work in another country, right? So do you
Yep.
consider that migration? Is
Mm.
another heavy word again, is it? I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we're
I think
gonna
I think
start burdening our audience already.
migration, because I mean when I decided to continue my career in Singapore, uh that thought really didn't run in my head, because I thought it was more of like
Oh,
a
really?
yeah,
Oh,
it
okay.
was more of like a short
Mm,
term thing, a short term,
mm,
like a working visa, and then that, and then pack my bags and then come back to Malaysia. So now thinking back, right, I think it was a migration.
mm,
And
okay.
it depends how you would label migration, right? Like,
Mm,
okay, let me just pull out, for some of our audience that may not understand the definition of migration. So migration is the movement of people or animals from one place to another, often to a new residence, either within the same country or literally across international borders. So
mm,
yes, I've made that move. Um,
mm,
and I thought it was going to be a temporary residence, right? Singapore was going to be a temporary. I was going to be a temporary resident of Singapore, right? But it has been quite a while already, so I would consider it a migration. Yeah.
I see, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan, what do you think?
I mean, if you take the word literally, is he's literally migrating to another country. So
Mm, okay.
I guess for me, my definition, my I guess my internal definition of migration is not only you pack your bags, right? You pack like all your important belongings, right? So I think it's like you pack your laptops, your I don't know, like every single thing that you have in your room, you kind of pack it up. I would consider that a migration.
so you're saying that, yeah, I
So
mean, you're not leaving anything in Malaysia lah. You're fully
in Malaysia, yeah,
moving all your belongings, like cancel all your bank
yes.
accounts, cancel all your whatever in Malaysia, and fully move.
Maybe not, because you're going to be traveling back from visits
So
and stuff
so
Yeah.
like that.
that's
But
why
yeah, yeah,
our Malaysia Singapore is a very special, because
Yeah.
yes,
the
yes.
both
Mm,
countries are so close to each other. You can literally just
mm,
cross over the bridge and then you'll be back in Malaysia in just
mm, mm.
Yeah,
in
couple of minutes kind of
yeah
thing,
yeah
in
so
an hour probably. Yeah.
yeah, so that's why it might not be It might not be something like, you migrating over to Australia. Australia is also another
Yeah,
popular spot. So
Mm.
I guess in a
but
sense you can say that you might be migrating over to Singapore, but you because of our close proximity, you um you somehow you're still connected, to Malaysia.
yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Only by definition is migration. I
Mm.
mean, the reason why I throw this question to Ryan, right, is based on your previous job, right? I mean, would you consider you migrated to that different state, right? Would you consider that also a migration? I know you're not moving across the border, but how about
Yep.
your
But by
past
definition,
your past job?
it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it
I
is
mean,
it is
I
but
was working in Penang, but I don't think the word applies here. Don't tell me every time you
okay.
cross a border you're migrating, bro.
So this is what they said, right? Like the definition said, right? Like it's either within the same country or across international borders.
Mm,
Yeah. So I guess the key word is that. But then going back to Ryan's understanding also, right? Like just to challenge, right? If if for example someone is actually living in KL or PJ or what, and if they move to Shah Alam, would you consider that a migration? Like, because that's within a state, would that be a migration? Because obviously it's going to be a different lifestyle, all right? Different movements. So is that a migration?
I think we are just nitpicking on the definition, but so I think in the context of this episode today, I think it's more of an international movement. So let's focus back on international.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
I think again, right, I think the word migrate, to certain people it means like, you move to something where you move to somewhere, not something. You move to somewhere like very, very far away with like a huge, time difference. Maybe let's say you move to US, or you migrate to Australia, like Ryan said, right, a very popular spot as well for Malaysian to migrate there too.
yep, correct.
So I
That's
think
like 2% of it.
some people, yeah, some people 2%, right? Because just now you read
Two
from an
percent.
article,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. 2%, like that has converted to Australian citizens. Malaysian that has converted to Australian
Yeah, yeah,
citizens. Yeah,
yeah. But that is conversion lah, because I mean there are still a lot of I think Malaysians actually
working
probably
in
work
Singapore.
there, not yet a citizen. But I think
Correct,
in
correct.
that sense they also consider that as migrate lah, because I think they rarely come back, right? Maybe except for Chinese New Year or maybe some some other festivals, right? Only they come back during maybe like once a year, you know. um. So for
So
me, I think Singapore, right? Like, moving across Malaysia, Singapore, I think that is for me, migration maybe is a bit too heavy for it, right? Yeah, according to definition, maybe it is, but I think that, compared to Sabah and Sarawak, right? Actually, work in KL. Actually, Singapore is much more closer. you know,
oh, that's
like for
true.
example, yeah, you think about it, right? You need to take like 1 hour flight back to, East Malaysia, right? I think compared to you cross between KL Singapore, I think that distance is even shorter, right? So
Yeah.
I think yeah, as what Ryan mentioned, right? I think because of our close proximity, Malaysia Singapore actually is a very special case, right? So let's say you are officially a Singaporean, citizen in Singapore.
Mm,
You can just come back to KL, right? Visit
mhm.
your parents, you know, in a very short amount of time, right? Just wait for the next few years, right? High speed rail is done. I think you can even come back to KL even faster.
I might even
Yeah.
like you said, like come back to Malaysia, live in Malaysia, and then take the next morning train to Singapore, and then finish my 9 to 5 there, and then come back again by high speed. I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I do have colleague like actually he reside in Ipoh,
Mhm.
so every day he will take the train, right?
Ah, the ETM.
If I don't know ETS or KTM lah, but he will take a train to to KL for work in
Mhm.
event that he need to physically be there. So let's say in the whole week he need to be physically in KL, then he gonna do that like 10 times.
So he's working
Okay.
remotely, is it?
No, as in like is I think post COVID, right? That's this hybrid, right, work arrangement. So maybe like you only need to be in office like 3 times in a week, right? But I'm not sure now whether this thing being revoked now, right? Let's say if he need to come to office like, you know, 5 days in a week, then he need to take the train like 10 times in a week, isn't it? To and fro.
I mean,
KL Ipoh.
technically he can,
Yeah.
get a place in. I mean, can stay in hotel temporarily for that week or something like that.
Mm,
Get a cheap Airbnb.
mm,
All
mm.
right. I
But
mean,
I'm
as
saying
for
that
the
there are rare occasions where people are doing this lah. So
yeah, I mean,
it's
I've
not usual.
recently
It's
read.
not usual, but yeah, there is lah.
I think this has been around for quite a while. But there's this lady that I think lives in Penang or what, if I'm not mistaken, and then she flies to Singapore every morning, you know, and then she
Oh,
flies back to Penang. So she thinks that
oh,
flying like commuting back and forth, Penang and Singapore on I think Air Asia, if I'm not mistaken, gives her
mm,
1 hour extra time with her family.
mm,
So yeah, that's her experience. All right, I want to just
maybe
change.
for her 1 hour is very meaningful, right? Oh, sorry for interruption.
No, yeah, but you're right. 1 hour is meaningful to her. So yeah, probably I'm just 1 hour on TikTok and then oh shit, 1 hour has gone. Okay, but okay, let me just change this conversation a little bit. We were talking about betrayal of Malaysia to Singapore and stuff like that, right? How about this, right? If you had an opportunity to go to Mars, all right, you know that Elon Musk has this goal of like colonizing Mars, and if you're part of this program, and then if you're going to Mars, and you kind of in a way you've got to live there for a few years, you've got to support the development of Mars, right? Would you still be considered an Earthian?
Bro, why are you going to Mars? There's nothing there.
No, I
I
mean
understand that you want to go to
yeah.
Singapore because Singapore is a great country, but why are you going to Mars?
No, again, like hypothetically, right? Like you're going there for to develop Mars, right? Like to colonize Mars, and then you're going to develop Mars, and then you're going to build like civilizations there, right? Like, would you come back to Malaysia, or would you would you forego if there is a
You
passport
mean come
system
back
there?
to Earth? Is it? You mean come
Earth,
back to
yeah,
Earth?
yeah,
Uh,
sorry, yeah. Like, if there's a passport system, like would you be a Martian then? Would you consider yourself Martian? Would you apply a Martian citizenship?
If I'm a billionaire like
I
Elon Musk,
mm,
and then I can afford,
Yeah.
I can, build rockets to fly to Mars and then colonize. Why not?
Right. So I'm with you on that, right? Because I wouldn't mind foregoing my Earthian citizenship to be a Martian.
I mean, if you're
I,
richest man on earth, yeah, like Elon Musk, yeah, sure, why not?
no, but he's not gonna send himself there, right? He's gonna send a team there, right? So I
Yeah,
wouldn't
but
mind being part
once
of
the
that team.
team once the team set up the
Yeah,
basic necessities,
yeah.
then might as well,
Mm.
you can just fly over and rule, be the ruler of Mars.
Okay. I was talking about more like I cannot say practically, but I'm assuming the role of a common man,
If
a
you're the
working class man.
pioneer, if you're the pioneer who's going to develop Mars, might as well you can declare yourself as the ruler.
I see.
Right, right.
That's fair. That's fair. So, I mean, I don't see myself as like an Earthian or a Martian. I mean, in that situation, I guess my personal view is that interchangeable knowledge and experience, I guess, all round. So, yeah,
Personally,
I thought,
for me, I think I will come from a different perspective because, like, I would think, what is the reason, we need to go to Mars? Is it to save Earth? Is it because Earth is not gonna be inhabitable for for the next a few centuries? I think
mm,
the objective is always still go back to Earth, right? Is it to try to save humanity actually in Earth. That's why we moved to Mars,
The
right?
usual
I think,
the usual cases is
I
because
think,
either Earth is no longer habitable or
mm,
Earth has an overpopulation issue. That's why you need to colonize
so
another planet.
So my
yeah.
thoughts
So
on this
I think
is
the point of view, right, is always it's still gonna revolve around Earth, right? I mean, the root cause is definitely from Earth. It's not, there's nothing. I just want to have fun. Okay, let's go explore a new territory. Not like that. I think the problem is still gonna revolve around Earth, right? I mean, the objective must somehow serve back to Earth, lah. For me, that is my point of view. Right, I know, Win, where are you coming from? I think you're trying to use this Earth Mars analogy to try to, to
yep,
try to resemble back to, Malaysia and Singapore. I think that's where you're coming from, right?
yep.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Mm,
when I hear both your thoughts on this, right? I guess
mm,
it's more of like not having all your eggs in one basket. So Earth has all individuals living here and stuff like that. So if something goes wrong, we've got a backup plan, I guess. All right. So having Mars there, it's like you're literally spreading out your eggs in multiple baskets. That's the idea. So yep, that's where this conversation has brought me
Yeah,
to
I
as
think
well.
we went off a tangent.
mm.
Don't we always do? All right. So this week has been great. We talked about Malaysia, Singapore. We talked about the benefits. We've talked about how does it make us feel about this. What are your final thoughts, Ryan, Kaz?
It's, I guess, up to a personal issue of, I mean, your personal view. If you think that migrating to another country gives you opportunity, gives you a better life, I think go for it. But try to, come back to Malaysia as a tourist, contribute, and even at least as a tourist,
Mm,
and then
yep,
of course we hope that Malaysia will continue to improve, I guess.
yep,
Yep.
yep. With this support, right,
Hmm.
Kaz?
I think I will just close with this line, right? So changing citizenship, right, may change a passport, right? But I think it's still up to individual like us, whether we want to contribute back to our home country. I
Mhm.
mean, it's still back to our responsibility, and also how we define, right, contribution back to Malaysia. So because we can actually contribute in a lot of ways. If you listen to our podcast much more earlier sections, right, we actually talk about there are different ways we can actually contribute back to our home country, Malaysia. So yeah.
All right. Thanks, Ryan, Kaz. We did mention a few. I mean, we did have a few conversation where we got the viewers to actually share their thoughts on this. Replacement of words and stuff like that. So feel free to put those in your comments. And thank you so much for joining us in this week's episode. I am Vin.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you guys like our video, please do not hesitate to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe to our channel, 2A and 1C. You guys are the best. Elua, peace.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. See you.
Thank you.